It's time, once again, to join the East Tennessee Ghost Seekers for Paratalk. A wide-ranging, open discussion covering everything from UFOs to psychic phenomena, cryptozoology, to paranormal encounters. Do you have a question? Or perhaps you have an experience to share? Email us at etgsparatalk@gmail.com or call 865-264-0448. That's 865-264-0448. And now, here's your host, Stephen Brown, with fellow ETGS members, Steve Wiseman, Andrea Brown, Jesse Arms, Elsie Adams, and me, Mike Howard. Sit back, relax, and open your mind. It's time for Paratalk.
Hello, and welcome to Paratalk. It is Saturday, February 23rd, and it's raining like freaking crazy outside.
It is.
It really is.
I mean, we had to swim to the grocery store.
And back.
With all the groceries in tow.
Yeah, like what the hell? So, this one's kind of different.
It is.
Yeah,
it's exciting.
We've got someone in the studio that, people will probably recognize the voice.
That's true.
They
should.
They should.
Hi, I'm building an ark right now. Collecting animals 2 by 2.
Hey everybody, welcome Mr. Mike Howard.
Hey!
Oh, look, there's a studio audience. Hi, guys.
So we actually got Mike in the studio with us this week.
Yes, we're excited about this.
And we're down Jesse and Steve.
Yes.
We're never going to have the full group.
And
ever.
obviously we don't have Elsie, because he's not been out here for a podcast either. So.
No, he hasn't. No, just...
slacker.
Yeah. Total slacker. Hope you hear that, Elsie. And Jesse. And Steve.
Steve has an excuse. He's working.
He's working.
Slackers.
Yeah, slackers.
And Jesse is quote unquote sick.
Yes.
That's what they all say.
And Elsie, what's Elsie's excuse?
I don't know.
He's a slacker.
Oh, okay.
All right.
All right, then we got that covered.
So, Mike.
Yes.
You've been listening to the show for a while.
I have.
And you've done all of our intros.
I have. I'm a busy guy.
Yeah.
We appreciate that.
Oh, no. It's my honor.
And then last year, you joined ETGS.
I did.
You and Elsie. And recently, like in the last month, we brought someone new into the group.
Yeah.
We did.
Yeah.
We're growing.
We're growing. And we brought on our first investigator in training.
It's awesome.
Yeah.
The fruit of my loins.
Literally. Yes.
And we love him.
Yes. We brought on Mike's son, Justin, and he's doing amazing.
He really is.
He's been down to Hell's Bar with us. He's done some residentials with us. And, dude, he's a natural.
He is incredibly excited, and he loves being part of the ETGS family, and he loves going out on investigations. He really does.
I'm glad.
Well, we are super excited to have him be a part of the group.
Yeah, because he's a perfect fit.
Oh, absolutely.
Such a perfect fit.
And
and he's so much like me that if anything ever happens to me,
we have a replacement.
You've got a backup already.
Well, and it's awesome to have somebody like him who is still in the training process, and I mean, he can carry the cameras.
Yeah.
That's exactly right. Especially since we have this new rig that weighs 98 pounds.
This thing is massive.
It only weighs 95.
Oh, okay.
Gotcha.
Sorry.
Yeah.
But, I mean, he's a healthy, young, scrapping boy. So, he can totally do that. What were you whispering to me, Andrea? I can't.
I've lost the background music. I don't know if I'm just like, see right there.
Is that better?
Yeah.
Sorry.
I'm sorry. I'm used to the background
Used
music.
to the background music.
I was like, what is wrong with this? All I hear is our voices. This is so weird.
It's not natural.
It's not natural.
Yesterday, we got in here and we were recording the new bumper that we'll play here in a bit. Mm-hmm. And since I've been dealing with this head thing going on that everybody in the free world has had. I had Andrea record it, and you guys will see she did an amazing job. But she's like,
Will
you play the background music while I'm recording it instead of adding it later? And I was like, what? She's like, I'll be more comfortable.
It's crazy when you're used to having especially doing this. You're used to having the background music playing, so when you're just talking through it and all you hear is your voice,
Sure.
it's kind of like, oh, that's just weird.
Yeah. Well, you get used to hearing a certain thing,
right?
So you've got to have
that comfort.
That's right.
Yes.
And now I've heard it. I've heard the bumper.
And
it's good.
She did an amazing job.
She makes the product sound sexy.
She totally does.
Thank you.
It's very, very good.
Yeah.
That was my goal.
We'll have to make a video with you with your veil holding the.
Can I do an unveiling of the unveiling of the promo?
Wearing a veil. And unveiling wearing a veil.
Oh,
You're so corny.
I am.
I crack myself up.
I do.
Such a punny girl.
I'm crying over here.
You kind of are, yeah. Oh. My God.
I'm easily amused.
You really are. Yeah. Which is good, I guess. Especially in this family.
Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah. She's still laughing at herself. Holy shit.
Oh, okay. I'm good.
Okay, yeah, so we've been busy with residential investigations lately. And Mike is actually working on some bigger stuff for us coming up.
Hopefully next month, yeah.
Man, I'm so excited.
Oh, yeah, it's going to be awesome.
Oh, it's
going to places we've never been before.
That is amazing. I mean, I love going to repeat places. I would love to go back to Waverly. I would love to go back to Old South Pitt. You know, there's so many things that I would love to go back to, but finding another place that just stirs up that adrenaline rush insanely.
And the fact that these places, we've not been to them, but they've been around for a long, long time.
Oh, yeah.
Long time.
Hey,
so exciting.
Just time out for 1 second. Can you call your dog over there? I've got one in my lap. I don't have room for two.
Oh.
Either way, come on.
He's trying to jump up in my lap with Nina in my lap.
Okay.
God.
All right.
This is live, folks.
So much drama going on in the room.
Telling you. Now I feel like Dr. Evil with a dog instead of a cat. Quit.
I think he's Dr. Evil.
Yes.
He's like, so what's this podcast thing about?
Do you mean Dog-ter Evil?
Oh,
that was horrible. That was horrible. Still funny, but horrible.
Wow.
You failed at your job. This little bastard's back over here on my leg again.
Come here, Blue.
He's driving me batshit crazy over here. Look at him.
Good luck with that.
I'm the man with the dogs. Let me pull a mic over here because I can't get to it now. Oh. So
Yeah, that's funny.
So, okay. New investigations coming. Tonight's episode of Paratalk is a cool one.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, this is it's came back into the media big time in the last, 4 months? Not
Especially.
even. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, the end of January, because it's our 30th anniversary.
That's exactly right. Yeah. So tonight, we're talking about Ted Bundy. Yeah, inside the mind of a monster. I mean, this man.
Crazy.
Yeah, I don't even feel right calling him a man.
Now, here's the thing. Now, there were a lot of other people before him and around his same time, but yet because of Bundy, we have things like the National Criminal Database.
That's exactly right.
We have the term serial killer. We have so many things that have come out of just his existence alone because he had such an impact. He had the impact that he had.
Right.
Why do you think that Bundy was so looked upon? I mean, with all these killers and these just horrible people that did, as gruesome of things as he did, Why do you think he had such an impact like he did? And still to this day does.
Yeah, still does. Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe it's... I guess I'm thinking that the sheer number, the way that he portrayed himself, I mean, they're all, and like I said this before, every serial killer has always been described as what?
Charismatic.
Mm-hmm. And, you know, but, okay, we watched the documentary.
Mm-hmm.
And the entire time I'm sitting there like, obviously that's a completely different time for me. I wasn't even born when this stuff was happening, you know.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Shut up.
I was.
Yeah, me too.
So this actually occurred prior to me being born, but I would like to think that, you know, if I were at an age where this was happening, you know, I'm thinking, I don't know. I wouldn't trust this dude.
Well, no.
But
that was his way, though. He would make you trust him.
I think that's why he had such an impact, is because I remember as a little kid hearing about it.
Mm-hmm.
But I think what it was is because he wasn't, unlike the Gacy's, and even unlike Manson and
Jeffrey
Dahmer. They were seemingly, and you would always see, you always see the conversations with people afterwards. Well, they were so quiet, and we never thought. But when you look at them and you looked at everything around them, you thought something just didn't seem right.
Right.
They seemed odd, or they looked a little different, or they acted. Bundy wasn't like that.
Right.
He was like your next door neighbor. Mm-hmm. He was like the guy you saw every day at work.
Yeah.
He really was that guy that just blended in. He was like a chameleon because he blended in everywhere. He literally could hide in plain sight.
Right. Well, have you seen, they've got a layout of all of his many faces.
Yeah.
And yeah, you can see the resemblance, but then again, you could be like, I could see how he could be missed in a lineup.
Yeah.
Because he could completely change just the facial expression or, the hair or whatever. So, I could see where, who.
Because I remember when we first started talking about doing this podcast, Andrea starts researching, and she's like, okay, in this picture, he's a handsome guy. Mm-hmm. In this picture, he looks like a dirty homeless guy. Yeah. His face is, like she said, he had many different faces,
Yeah. Well, and okay, kind of stepping back a bit on how I would, react to him if it were me. Mm-hmm. One thing that we have right now is social media, we have internet, we have all this stuff. So in my mind thinking now, I've read way too much into this.
Sure.
So I'm already like a step ahead because at least I'd like to think that I am.
Right.
But back in the 70s,
you didn't have
you
that.
ain't got nothing like that.
Yeah.
So you are in a more trusting and carefree, the hippies.
Yeah.
Sure.
So everybody loved everybody trusted everybody, so you just didn't even think about something like that happening.
Sure. And of course, I remember, and I remember being a kid at that time in the 70s, and there was, not only were you relied on news from either what you saw every night at 6 o'clock, or what you read in the paper 24 to 48 hours later.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So we didn't have instant information right then, and the fact that the 70s were really this kind of nebulous time where things were, it was just starting to come out of the 60s, and Nixon was in office, and there was a lot of turmoil going on, and there was women's lib happening, and the country was in like this weird
transition.
Yeah, it was just very there was all kinds of things happening all at once. And it was a time when you didn't really
that wasn't a thought.
No, it really wasn't. And serial killers weren't a thing.
Right. They even said that the term serial killer was not even in existence.
It wasn't a word yet.
It wasn't in existence.
Yeah.
And anyway, they didn't even have, like I said, they didn't even have a national criminal database. So you didn't share information back and forth between states, let alone between cities of what was going on. And the fact that this guy was so, he was such a chameleon, he could blend in with anything. But also the fact that he got so bold.
Yeah.
I mean,
Oh, yeah.
you know, where a couple of them, the Lake Sammamish, you know, here a holiday weekend, thousands of people.
Mm-hmm.
Didn't they say like 40,000 or something?
Yeah.
I was thinking, holy crap, that's huge.
And in the middle of all this, he was able to pull off kidnapping, raping, and killing two women.
Two women.
In one weekend.
Yeah.
In front of thousands of people.
Yeah.
And got away with it.
Yep.
Yeah, and the only thing that any witness could say, actually confirm was the bug.
Yeah.
But how many bugs were out at that point?
Oh, yeah.
So many.
And somebody heard him say,
Ted.
"Hi, my name's Ted."
Yeah. But
So they got a name and a bug.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But even when they did the sketch,
Yeah.
they were like, it doesn't really look like him.
And the fact that they actually had him at one point.
Yeah.
He was one of the
Oh, yeah.
thousands. He was one of the 1,000 people when they said they pulled just within that area, within Washington the Washington College area. 1,000 different bug owners that could go by the name of Theodore or Ted.
Any variation of Ted.
And
Yeah.
he was one of the people they had on the list. And they went, nah, no, he's all right. Let him go. And what's weird is you find out that happens several times throughout.
Yes.
Yeah.
Slipped through their fingers.
Yeah. They had him and went, oh, okay, you can go on.
Oh my gosh.
All right. So, right now, we're going to take time out, play a bumper, and come back, and we're going to start from the beginning here. And we're going to break down Ted Bundy.
Let's do it.
And see if, by the end of this discussion, if maybe we understand his head. Any. Or if we still just think he's just an evil asshole and good riddance Ted.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We shall
All right.
see.
We'll be right back.
You're listening to Paratalk. If you have a question or an experience to share, email us at etgsparatalk@gmail.com or call 865-264-0448. And now, back to Paratalk.
So many people spend hundreds or even thousands of dollars on that perfect infrared camera, hoping to catch that epic paranormal shot or simply to document their nighttime escapades, only to pair it up with an IR illuminator that gives off a hot spot in the center of the frame and performs subpar for their camera's capabilities. We did the same thing. Let me save you some time and money spent on multiple IR lights with one name, Deadlight. Created from the minds of Josh Bender and Justin Brown, who are also paranormal investigators, the Deadlight is the elite light to add to your camera arsenal. We have tested the Deadlight and illuminated areas up to 300 feet away. Did I mention these lights are built like a tank? Super durable and sturdy construction. Josh builds each Deadlight to meet your needs and is in constant contact during the building process, so forget the other lights out there and go straight to the best. You can check out the complete line of Deadlights on Facebook at Deadlight LLC. Justin and Josh are constantly exploring new features to add to the Deadlights. ETGS will never use another light in the field, simply because nothing else compares. Get your Deadlight today and you too can light up the night.
Okay, so we're back, and I hope everybody enjoyed that little bumper that you did there.
Thank you.
Yeah, you did a good job,
Appreciate that.
and I know you made Josh and Justin proud.
Well, good. I'm glad.
Yeah.
They deserve that.
Yeah, I mean, Mike has been witness to the power of the Deadlight.
It's amazing.
It's so amazing.
Good.
Oh my gosh.
You can light up literally any dark space anywhere.
Yeah.
It's a beast.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
I mean, and you can describe it to people until you see it. You have no idea.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It is unreal. We've stood outside, and basically you've pointed the camera at a large open like yard space,
And it lights up.
lights up the entire area.
Yeah.
And it's unbelievable.
Well, I mean, out at the dam, you know, we'd be standing out in front of like the break room area, and you could see the dam.
Yeah.
It in the middle of the night.
You know, one of the awesome qualities of our deadlight, which I'm not sure if it's everyone, but you can adjust the light. You can adjust them. Okay, so you can adjust them to be. You can use them more for inside, more for outside. You can brighten it. You can darken it. I mean,
Yeah.
it's absolutely amazing.
Yeah. Everybody go check out Deadlight LLC on Facebook. And if you have any questions, shoot Josh a message. He will get right back with you. I promise. It happened to me.
Yep.
So, all right. Now, back to Captain Evil. Mr. Ted Bundy. All right. So, first, he was born Theodore Robert Bundy. Or, no, he was born Theodore Robert Cowell. Later became Bundy after his mom had remarried and he was adopted. He was born November 24th, 1946. Serial killer, kidnapper, rapist, dog, burglar, necrophile, and...
I mean, what a...
Okay, just reading through this stuff when I was putting all this together.
Did you gag?
Yeah, I mean, he had a victim that was 14 years old. You know, 14 years old.
That's very disturbing.
You know, sick bastard to mess with a 14-year-old kid. You know,
Not just mess with.
but yeah, I mean, rape and then murder a 14-year-old child. You know,
Well, and here's the thing too, and if you start to really start looking at, because what he admitted to 30 killings.
right,
They credit him with 39.
right,
But there's actually a lot of different theories out there, and there's a lot of different. There's some bits of evidence and some stuff that people have looked at, because they claim that he started 74, basically 74 through 78, those 4 years. So 39 people in 4 years. But if you look at some of the other stuff out there, and some of it makes a lot of sense. There's one theory out there that he actually started a lot earlier than that.
Yeah.
That he started probably in the late 60s, and that some of the stuff out in the San Francisco area, up in the Northern California area, that was attributed to the Zodiac killer, could very well have been
Ted Bundy.
You know,
I was reading something today when I was throwing all this together that some people think that he could have murdered up to 100 people. 100 people.
It wouldn't
murdered.
surprise me. I mean, he was able to conceal, the ones that he did kill for the most part. Did they even, I mean, I'm assuming that all of the victims that are listed or that are known, they have been found. What about...
I don't think they've found all of them.
Yeah, they haven't found all of them.
Okay.
No, they know who they are.
Right.
Because several he decapitated and kept their head in his apartment as a memento.
Sometimes I think, if, I don't know, like, how many unknowns?
Oh yeah.
The hitchhikers, because hitchhikers were just all over the place.
Hitchhikers, runaways, prostitutes.
Absolutely.
People that society just kind of forgets about,
right,
and doesn't pay attention when they disappear.
They run away from, they have no family, whatever. I mean, then that number could be unbelievable up there.
He stated that he attempted his first murder in 1969. But that's what he's telling you.
Right.
That's what he's wanting you to know, or wanting you to think that he attempted his first one in 1969.
At that point, do you think that he would be like, I attempted in 1969? Or do you think it would be like, do you think it's a more of a bragging thing, or do you think it's more of a confession thing?
No, I think if it's a confession thing, it's a half-ass confession thing.
Yeah.
So I think that he's telling them this leading them to think, maybe I should think he did shit way back here.
Right.
And not just in 74 when all these women started going missing in the areas where he was at. Because, he was in Oregon and Washington. What's to stop him from driving down to California for the weekend?
Nothing.
Nothing. He was in college, doing his thing.
Oh, yeah.
And we all know from all the research, he wasn't very good at staying in college and doing his thing.
And of course, there was a time he escaped from Glenwood Prison in Colorado and then drove cross country back to Florida.
Yeah.
To end up in Pensacola. So there was that whole timeline of him just driving through parts of the country.
And do you not think that at any point during that travel that he thought, I'm just going to go ahead and take one out right here?
Well, sure.
Yeah. At that point in time, that was the second time he had broken out of prison. The first time he broke out, he was out for 6 days, and he got hot and thirsty and hungry. Mm-hmm. And he walked right back to the jail and turned himself in.
Yeah.
This time, he was out there 48 days before they ever caught him.
Yeah.
And, they caught him because he was driving a Volkswagen Bug or Beetle that was reported stolen.
Yeah. There's actually, I was telling you this the other day, there were a couple friends of mine, actually, they're stand-up comedians. Unfortunately, one was Tim Wilson, who's passed away. But he actually he was very interested in Bundy and Bundy's murder spree. Well, he actually wrote a book with a guy by the name of Roger Keyes, who's another stand-up comic. So two stand-up comics left their night jobs for a while to write this book about Bundy, and it's called Happy New Year, Ted. And where they actually go into the time when he escaped from Colorado on his way to Florida. There's actually a very notorious Georgia serial killer who actually has just got back in the news because he's scheduled to be executed in Georgia in March of this year. His name is Carlton Gary. He is known as the Columbus Stalking Strangler because he killed, supposedly he broke into 3 elderly women's homes, strangled them with their stockings, and then robbed their houses. And then they also found some other people he had killed in various other states as well. But he still to this day claims that the Stalking Strangler case, he was completely innocent, that he robbed their houses, but it was somebody else that killed them. Well, Tim and Roger have this whole theory that it was actually Ted who basically met up with Carlton Gary, and they decided to have some fun for a couple nights in Columbus.
Wow.
And it was actually him that had gone in and raped these older women, strangled them with their stockings. And then
that's his MO.
Yeah, that totally sounds like it follows everything that his killings.
Which would then add, because everything else was he'd only killed women up to the age of 25. Mm-hmm. I think the oldest one here was 79. They said, well, it could have been him because they were older. Why not?
Yeah, I mean,
yeah, he's been locked up in prison, and he gets out. He's going to do whatever he can.
Easy targets.
Sure.
Yeah, because he did this because he loved it. He had to, and that's like us right now. We're doing this keto thing, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And I can't have bread, and I love bread.
He always brings this up.
But listen to me, okay? I will eat if I get the opportunity, and you let me have it.
Hey, wait.
If you let me have it, I will eat, the worst piece of bread ever just to have bread on a sandwich instead of lettuce.
Hey.
And that's where Bundy is. He's been locked up and he's not being able to do the things he wanted to do.
You're comparing yourself on keto to Ted Bundy.
Yes. Now, listen to me. I'm saying,
I think I hear my mother calling. I have to go.
But no, I'm saying,
geez.
He's been locked up,
right.
And so he breaks out. He's going to take that easy target. Like I would take that easy bread, Yeah. Just to have that cause.
I can see what you're saying. Just because he and what's if you don't have Netflix, the 4-part documentary series, Conversations with a Killer, the Ted Bundy Tapes.
Yeah.
Very worth seeing.
Oh, my
very
God.
interesting. Because a lot of it is Ted and Ted's own words.
Yeah.
But you have to take it with a grain of salt because we all know that Ted was also
manipulative bastard.
And he was a liar.
Oh, yeah.
The guy was a liar. And the first thing that strikes me is the fact that he's got an ego beyond belief.
Oh, yeah.
My gosh.
And when he goes into this whole thing of analyzing who the killer might be without saying it was himself, that's when he goes into, well, whoever this person is, they're obviously filling some need they have, and they hope that this next kill
will be the one.
Will fill that need.
Yeah.
And then if not this one, then the next one. If not this one. So it's right then that tells me, okay, he knows he has this, some kind of otherworldly desire to fill some strange need that he can't explain what it is. And that he's going to keep killing as many people as he can until he fills that need. We all know that need's never going to be filled.
Right.
Never. Never.
Whatever that need is. So he, locked up, not being able to. So imagine if you're a chain smoker. Mm-hmm. And suddenly you don't have any cigarettes for days at a time, and you don't want to quit. You have no desire to quit. You have no need to quit. Mm-hmm. And then suddenly you get a carton of cigarettes. You're probably going to smoke all those cigarettes as fast as you possibly can.
Yeah.
Or you have your favorite brand, and then you run out and have nothing, and then somebody gives you one of those, like something you don't like, and then you're like, it is what it is.
Just to fill that need.
Right.
Yeah.
Just to fill that need.
But is it going to satisfy that need? Probably not.
No.
Because that's not what you like.
Because you're going to go buy another one.
Exactly.
Yeah. And eventually those run out. You got to get another one.
Exactly. Sick.
And the fact that he was able, the thing that kills me though is the fact that he was able to do it basically in plain broad daylight. Yeah. And get away with it time and time and time and time again. And then even up to the day he was finally executed, still claim his innocence.
Oh, yeah.
Say, this wasn't me. This was somebody else.
Yeah. But then what? It was like 4 hours before they actually executed him. That's when he told the minister that came and read him his rights, gave him his last rights.
He was like, all right, confession,
out. Yeah. So I did this, and I did this. But all the way up to, hours before the man died. Hours. He said he was innocent.
Oh, yeah.
And in every interview he gave up to that point, he treated it, when you listen to him and you see him, he knew he was a celebrity.
Mm-hmm. Oh,
and he fed off of it.
Yeah. He said he was more famous than Disney World.
Yeah. And at times he was.
Yeah.
Because look, it's 30 years past, and the anniversary at the end of January was the anniversary of his death. Mm-hmm. 30 years later, he still intrigues us.
He's
just as he
still
did
in the
30
media.
years ago.
Yeah. His name is still out there.
Yeah. There's the brand new movie coming out on Netflix with Zac Efron, which looks terrifying.
Yeah.
There's the new documentary, which again, 4-part docuseries, very worth your time.
Oh my gosh!
You know, and this is something that I had actually heard on the radio, that there's a lot of women that are just fawning over Ted Bundy. Mm-hmm. And I sat there watching it and I'm like, really? There was nothing, like, out of the slew of pictures that I had seen, there was like maybe one that I was like, oh, okay, maybe, he's decent. But there was nothing physically that I was like, oh my gosh, I just love him. And obviously there is nothing about his mannerisms, his actions. There is nothing that would have drawn me to think, I love this man.
Okay, but you also have to think, for the women that are into the men that carry themselves with confidence, and he was totally confident in himself.
But I guess my perspective of him was, maybe he was carrying himself with confidence, but to me, it threw off as being an egotistical maniac. Yeah. And I was like, no, you are just so full of yourself. That is not even happening.
But see, there are those people out there that are attracted to that, whether it be female killers or male killers. Look how many up to the point when he passed, Charlie Manson used to get so many letters.
Oh yeah,
from women.
But see, my concern, especially now that this new movie is coming out with Zac Efron, who is quite the hottie, how many more females are going to be all like, oh my gosh, swooning over him? Yeah. And they're going to be swooning over Zac Efron, but, who's to say that these young girls who are very influential, or even guys, whatever, they're very influential, they're going to be seeing Zac portraying a serial killer. And I think that's really going to warp their minds in reality. And I mean, that's just the whole movie thing in general. You kind of, I mean, there's TV.
Because you have people that watch this and they don't look at it as a movie.
Right.
You know?
They think of it as more of a realistic. I mean, there's TV shows that you get really involved in. I mean, I've done that.
Haven.
Yes.
Well, there's actually a journalist who was one of the people that was there was a small pool of journalists that were allowed in to actually view Bundy's execution, and one of them is a guy by the name of Tim Swearens, and Tim Swearens actually came out a couple days ago and criticized Netflix. He said, look, you're basically glorifying a horrible human being that walked the face of the earth, that sadly took the lives of a 12-year-old little girl and took the lives of all these women just because he was a manipulative piece of crap. And you're glorifying him by having somebody like Zac Efron portray him.
Right.
You know, so there's people on all ends of the spectrum going, look, you know, yeah, it's a movie, and yeah, you choose whether you want to watch it or not. But then there are other people saying, don't even offer that up.
Why put it out there?
Don't even offer that up.
I mean, yes, we watched the documentary, but this was the documentary. It wasn't the movie.
I'm going to be straight up. I will watch the movie, though.
Yeah.
Just out of curiosity, because we have researched this. We've looked into it.
Just like many people in America, I'm intrigued with serial killers. You know, I totally am.
I mean,
you know, I've read all the stuff on Dahmer, you know, for Ed Gein, you know.
We all went kind of crazy on Charles Manson.
Yeah. And you know, he, quote unquote, never killed anybody.
Of course not.
Yeah.
I mean, no, he didn't.
He had everybody do it for him.
And I think, well, that's you'll have to go back and listen to that one, because that in itself, just the fact of that psychological brainwashing that he did to create, you know, have everybody do all
When
this.
I was a kid and I lived in California, Manson used to scare the hell out of me.
Oh, I'm sure.
Because I was always afraid that they were going to show up at my house one night. I was terrified.
Oh, God, I would be too.
But now, as I got older, serial killers. I don't know what it is. I'm intrigued by them.
Yeah.
I don't think it's the killing part.
No,
it's the
their
mind.
Yeah,
it's
their mind.
What makes them tick?
And that's the thing. I always want to try to figure out what is it that what happens to somebody who seemingly, and that's the thing with Bundy. They're seemingly normal people. What clicks? What's that one thing that happens that makes them go over that line?
Right.
Because we've all gotten to the point where we're so angry at somebody or something happens and we go, oh, you know, I wish they'd die or I'd kill them. Yeah. But we all know this.
Yeah, it's not going to happen. That's as far as it goes.
We're just saying that, and we're pissed off. You know, a couple minutes later, we're fine. Everything's good.
Right.
But what happens to that? What's that one thing that actually pushes somebody to go, I'm going to kill that person, and then they actually follow through and do it?
Yeah.
Because I don't understand where does that come from? Yeah.
Well,
what amount of rage, what amount of psychosis, what amount of absolute hatred do you have to have before that actually becomes a reality?
Right.
And you know, which I had actually made it freaked me out that I think it was we were watching that documentary, and was it that one? They were kind of going through all the different Gacy, Dahmer, all these things, and they were all happening in the 70s. Yeah. And I'm like, holy crap, thank God I wasn't alive then. Because I probably would have fell for that. But I mean, it just that these dogs are going crazy.
They're killing me.
But there's been this amount of time that serial killers have been prevalent out in the news. They've been known, and out of all of the at least well-known serial killers, has there not been a doctor? There's not apparently been a doctor to sit there and say this is what they're thinking, because they can't even come out and say themselves. They don't know. So how can anybody else know what's in the mind of a killer if they themselves don't even know?
Sure.
Because how many times have we heard, why did you do this? I don't know.
It wasn't me.
Yeah, the situation just presented itself.
Yeah.
I mean, you got somebody like Dennis Rader, the BTK killer, you know, or the Green River killers, or
It just happened.
Yeah, it just happened. Or I would just, I can't explain it. It just did.
It just happened.
You know, and it intrigues me no end how the human mind works to begin with, but then how that human mind gets twisted to the point of, this is what I'm going to do, and I'm going to keep doing it. I'm going to keep doing it. I'm going to keep doing it. You know, because even with someone like Dahmer. You know, and even he said, "There's something wrong with my head. There's something wrong."
Yeah, I mean, he was the first to admit that there was something wrong with his head,
and that he wanted a doctor to study him after he was gone, just to find out what was wrong with his head. Because you talk to other members of his family, you listen to other members of his family, they're as normal as the day is long.
Yeah,
you know, and you almost to the point you feel, Lord, I'm sorry they were.
They were related to that.
Yeah. Well, except for Dahmer's dad. Dahmer's dad, he said that he had thoughts growing up of doing the same thing, but he never followed through with it.
Never followed it through.
And that goes back to the whole where's that line of having those thoughts.
He was able
and
to
then
stop
acting
it.
on. Yeah,
he was able to stop it. Where
what creates that bump over that lawn? That's just it's intriguing, and that's why everybody is just fascinated with serial killers, because it's a matter of why.
I mean, because Bundy stated that he was raised for a few years by his grandparents, and then when he went back to live with his mom, he had a normal childhood. When he was with his grandparents, Christian family, went to church. He was a normal kid. He had a normal upbringing, no sexual abuse, no physical abuse, he was a normal kid, had a normal childhood. And then as soon as, he gets out of high school and gets into college, shit hit the fan. And his mind, I don't know because we don't know if, growing up, if he had those thoughts, that there's none of that stuff out there to find out if he had those thoughts when he was growing up. But when he went to college, that's when early 60s or late 60s.
Well, and what strikes me especially watching that doc on Netflix and reading some of the stuff, is when he talks about his first serious girlfriend in college, who by all reports ended up kind of leaving him. And we don't know if she cheated on him or what, but she kind of grew tired of him, and he quit. And they were trying to carry on a long distance relationship, and she just quit writing him. And that's when you first hear him talk about, especially in that doc, and it's very chilling when you hear him say it. That's when I thought I needed to find some revenge against her.
Right.
So was this all some twisted revenge that ended up
against her? Yeah, and he took it out on everyone.
Yeah. Well, I was trying to find the word for it. But I almost wonder if he was one of those guys who felt he was very confident, and he tried to approach females, whatever, and would want to have relations with them, and they would be like, no, and because this word came up on the radio. It's kind of like a misogynist, but it's not. There's like a group of men who hate women because they won't have sex with them. I can't think of the name of it.
Lonely.
Well, that too. but they have such a hatred for these women, for women in general, because they've been rejected so many times that it kind of, his actions, Bundy's actions towards women, is almost like he's taking that feeling of, any potential reaction. He's not going to tell us that he's been rejected. Because in his mind, he is the most confident, Well,
you're going to hear about all of his conquests.
Exactly. Right. He's his all of his wins. Yeah. And his glory.
Another thing along that same line that struck me too when you talk about it, because people forget that he actually was a fairly well-known political activist up in the Northwest, And he described himself as a very conservative Richard Nixon Republican. Mm-hmm. And so during the 70s, and he talks about how he found hippies and the anti-war movement very offensive because it was against the law. And they were breaking the law, and he found that people that broke the law were very against his beliefs. I mean, here's a guy who killed 39 people that we know of, and he found people that broke the law were very offensive to him. And at the same time, when you listen to some of the things he said, you know, he didn't care much for women's lib because women had their place in the home. Right. And they were supposed to be subservient to men. You know, they were supposed to be in the kitchen doing what they're supposed to be doing. They're supposed to be housewives. Suddenly these young college women
are going out.
They're out, they're partying, they're having fun, and it's like something snapped in that head and it went, I don't know.
No, that's not how it's supposed to be.
I'm the
That's
man.
not where you're supposed to be.
Where's my sandwich?
Get in that kitchen.
So you end up having, starting on January 4th in 74 in Washington and Oregon, Karen Sparks, also known as Joni Lynch. She was bludgeoned to death and assaulted in her bed while she was sleeping. She survived. Linda Ann Healy, bludgeoned. Bludgeoned. She wasn't bludgeoned to death. She survived. Bludgeoned while sleeping and abducted. Skull and mandible recovered at Taylor Mountain. So they just found part of her skull and her jawbone. She unfortunately, his first death victim that we know of. That was just a little less than a month after he bludgeoned Karen Sparks. A month later, you have Donna Gale Manson, abducted while walking at Evergreen State College. Body left, according to Bundy, at Taylor Mountain. Her body was never recovered. Okay. Susan Elaine Runcourt disappeared after attending an evening advisors meeting. Again, about a month later, Washington State College. Skull and mandible recovered at Taylor Mountain. So apparently all these people he was taking to Taylor Mountain.
Right.
Just leaving them there.
That was his drop zone.
Yeah. Then, Roberta Kathleen Parks vanishes. Body, skull and mandible again recovered at Taylor Mountain. Brenda Carol Bell disappeared after leaving a tavern in Washington. Skull and mandible recovered at Taylor Mountain. And just their skull and jawbones. It's all they're finding.
What did he do with their bodies?
He decapitated them.
Yeah, he decapitated.
No, I mean, like,
but
don't know.
Yeah.
Georgianne Hawkins, again, the remains identified by Bundy as those of Hawkins, recovered at a different site that he found down in Oregon. Janice Ann Ott, and again, these are all through. This is just covering January 4th through July 14th of 1974. Okay,
that's insane.
Janice Ann Ott, Denise Marie Noslin.
Yeah. 4 hours apart.
Yeah.
He abducted her 4 hours after he...
Oh, that was the lake.
Yeah.
Lake Sammamish, yeah. That's in front of 40,000 plus people over a holiday weekend at a lake in the middle of the day. Oh. And that was him asking them to come over. They reported a guy in a cast asking young women throughout the day, many times throughout the day, different women, can you come help me put this canoe on my VW?
You know, in my mind, if I'm being surrounded by 40,000 people and some random guy says, "Hey, can you help me lift this canoe and put it on my car?" I'll be like, really? If there's like some guys over here, you know, would you not rather have some muscle? Because this ain't gonna help. You know, and I'm just thinking, I don't know. Maybe these women thought they were a lot stronger than they were.
The thing was, it said he was playing very helpless. And trying
as the female.
But you gotta remember, this is also the same guy that they modeled Buffalo Bill after in Silence of the Lambs. And when you saw that moment when he captures the senator's daughter, because he's in a cast, and what, can you help me move this couch?
Yeah.
Onto my van, and they basically modeled a lot of the Buffalo Bill stuff after Bundy.
That's crazy.
With the abduction, with how he would abduct them, and she's like, "Oh yeah, sure, I can help."
Yeah. And you got to think it's somebody just being.
I don't know.
Extending that helping hand. Yeah.
21st century mind here thinking,
But that's
you
the
know.
thing. 1974.
Yeah.
Say, figure you're a young college girl. Some guy who, at that time, fairly good-looking guy, comes up to you and goes, "Hey, my arms, I can't. Can you just help me just grab this? It's not that heavy. I just can't really do it."
Right.
You probably go, "Yeah, sure, I can help you." It's in the middle of the day. You're not even thinking about anything.
And
There's
Being surrounded by 40,000
There's
people.
40,000 people there. Next thing you know, he hits you in the face with a
crowbar.
Yeah, or he hits you in the face with a handkerchief
cask.
with a handkerchief with some chloroform on it. You pass out and then you wake up and you're driving down in the street in a VW with the guy. You know.
I mean, I guess anything's, well, obviously that's possible.
Come on, we're in the land of the volunteers.
I know.
Yeah. We will go out of our way to help people.
I will help
exactly
people,
right, yeah.
but if it comes down to me being, and this is once again 21st century, I've read way too many, too many stories.
Okay, but think about this. Okay, say this were at a park here,
Yeah.
and someone's like, "Hey, will you help me load this in?" You're not going to give him a second thought. You're going to help.
No.
You will.
No, I would, because I have read this crap. I am more skeptical of just the random van sitting in the parking lot next to me, because I'm all like, oh gosh, hopefully it's not, I'll be the first one to run back to the store.
Someone's going up to Andrew. Hey, can you help me load this into my windowless van
I
over
will
here?
say, stranger danger, I don't know you. That's my purse.
And kick him in the nuts.
Yes. Then I'll say, I'll go get you some help, because I'm not playing that. I've read too much.
But see, that's the scary thing. He did that throughout the day, and there were many women who did that. Said, "No, I'm not going to help you."
Because
and he would just go back and he asked a different one.
Yeah.
trying to find that gullible one.
And then he
or
found.
two.
And then he found one, and went and did what he never did. And then he had the balls to come back and do it again.
4 hours later. 4 hours later.
That part baffles me, is that he had the nerve to come back.
Because he was so confident in himself.
Oh,
I mean,
I
how
know.
long had he been doing this? I mean, like before these people, you got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 people
He's
right there
already,
before that
yeah.
that he'd already killed. And got away with.
Right.
His
confidence kept growing and growing and
Yeah.
growing and growing.
Yeah.
Obviously, so many times.
To the point where he still didn't get caught till a year later in a different state.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the lack of communication between states at that time.
Because there was
Exactly. There was no communication between
None.
states. There was no communication between cities. There was, the fact that they had that communication. But what do you do? Times have changed. They didn't have that type of communication, and
and it's because of this case that states do have that communication
right.
now.
And I mean, it's kind of like, I hate that these women died, but now because of their death, they have.
I mean, look at the lives they've probably saved.
Sure.
Now because
So it's not completely in vain.
right.
Well, they even admit, you listen to the things from the FBI and the CIA, in the same city, literally at times in the same building, down the hall from one another. At that time, they didn't even share things back and forth.
Right.
Which that kind of reminds me of watching the old school videos of the police doing forensics, and they're picking up this stuff with no gloves, and you're like, what?
Yeah.
I mean, it's like, you're working right down the hall from these people. Talk to them,
Right.
just.
Or you walk into, you see, especially now too, there's a lot of talk about the Black Dahlia murder in Hollywood. And I've been to that site. I've been to, that site plenty of times. And now it's just it's a big open area. Back then it was an even larger open field. And yet you see these pictures of a very gruesome crime scene with not only police walking all through it, but every reporter within the entire LA area all walking around through the crime scene, taking pictures up close. And you're going, okay, so
that's
this
how
lady,
that.
cut in half.
Gee, I wonder why you couldn't figure out who did it, because you've just destroyed your entire crime scene.
Way to go, Sparky. Yeah. But I mean, so that is one good thing that's come out of this. Is now law enforcement from one end of the United States to the other. They can.
And
they share the database.
I would like to think that with his name being brought up again, knowing what we know now, that there are people like that, that this is basically saying, warning, keep your eyes open. Don't just, talk to the next stranger, who needs some help or whatever. Right. That this is actually being used as a learning tool.
Sure. And I think it is, and that's also one of the reasons why Bundy's also one of the reasons why we end up having psychological profilers too, that we're able to go through and profile different serial killers and the traits they have. And I think that's why, because you really think the last time we've actually heard, besides Dennis Rader and the BTK, but that was going back in the 80s and into the late 70s. When's the last time we've heard of a serial killer?
Exactly. Yeah.
We don't have them anymore now. Now we have spree killers.
Right.
People that come out and do mass killings one time, boom, it's over.
Yeah.
Because usually they either end it themselves or
they
get caught.
Shot.
Bam.
Yeah. It's almost like the serial killer has gone away now.
Which is a good thing.
Yeah.
We'll take that.
Well, we won't take the mass killing sprees, but
no.
It's just, I don't know.
Well, I'd like to, just for the sake of remembering the victims, after he got done in Washington and Oregon, he moved on to Utah and Colorado and Idaho with October 2nd. So he went from July 14th that we know of to October 2nd. So he had possibly a little downtime.
Okay, but he makes up for it in October.
Oh, he does. He does. Because he goes from October 2nd, ambushing and assaulting and strangling Nancy Wilcox. And then on the 18th, Melissa Ann Smith vanished and was found 9 days later in a mountainous area. And then on the 31st, Laura Ann Aim disappeared and was found bludgeoned and raped and was found in American Forks Canyon. Then jumped to November 8th. Carol DeRoche, she was the lucky one.
Yeah.
She was he attempted to abduct her and got a handcuff on her and she escaped. So she was one of the lucky ones.
Oh, she is the one.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, she is because without this woman's testimony.
Oh, yeah.
There's no telling when he would, or if he would have ever served any time or anything else.
Then on November 8th, it was Deborah Jean Kent. So that's all in 1974.
Yep.
That's a pretty good spree in 1974.
Yeah.
In 75, he didn't waste any time. Went January 12th, Karen Eileen Campbell. March 15th, so there's a little space there with Julie Cunningham. April 6th, Denise Lynn Oliverson. Then May 6th, Lynette Dawn Culver. And June 28th, Susan Curtis. And he was arrested at that point, wasn't he?
Yeah.
And then escaped. And ran off to Florida.
Escaped on Christmas Eve.
Yes.
It was 77.
And
then he had his spree.
Yep.
Yeah.
Here.
And so, and there's that span.
Yeah.
From
Well, because he was in jail.
That's no, just the span. His travel time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What happened? There's no way that man would have been able to travel from here to there.
Yeah. There's almost 20 days that are
Yes.
unaccounted for.
Right.
So I mean, and thinking now that we have like all these databases, missing persons in those areas, maybe kind of.
Well, that's when the Columbus stocking stranglation.
Yeah.
And again, they attributed to somebody else. Mm-hmm. But, there's nothing saying that it couldn't have been him.
That's true.
Right.
That is true.
Let's see. When he got out, there could have been 5 people, in one day that he could have killed. He managed to kill 2. 3 others survived. Mm-hmm. He had Margaret Elizabeth Bowen. She passed. Lisa Levy. She passed. Karen Chandler, Kathy Kleiner, and Cheryl Thomas. They all survived. And then that was all January 15th of 78.
That was the Chi Omega killings.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And then February 9th, Kimberly Diane Leach. And they found her remains.
She was the 12-year-old.
12-year-old girl.
Yeah.
And by watching the documentary, it almost seemed as if he got a little careless. Mm-hmm. He got
cocky.
He did. He got cocky, but then he was just like, I don't even care if they find me, because he was like with the 12-year-old. He was staying in the motel right next to her school. Mm-hmm. And it was just one of those like, really? I mean, obviously you didn't think this out.
Right.
Or maybe he really just thought that he was that good that they wouldn't figure it out, because they hadn't figured it out to this point.
Right.
Or they figured it out and then he'd get away. So what did he care? Right. He's going to get out one way or another. Ugh.
Yeah. I mean, it's that mind, we don't understand,
We may never understand. Ow. Sorry.
Are you getting attacked?
I am.
How's that feel?
I'm used to it.
Okay, so he finally gets arrested.
Mm-hmm.
He got pulled over, and because he was driving a stolen vehicle, they search his car. They find, what's it like?
All the handy tools.
All the handy tools.
Again, something attributed to Bundy that we never had before. Something we now know as a rape kit.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like, you kind of want to be like, thank you for doing this, because now we have this, but it's like, we shouldn't have to have this.
No.
People shouldn't be mean and nasty and horrible and do this kind of stuff.
But okay, so he goes to jail. Yeah. He goes to trial. He thinks that his representation is screwing him, that they're going to get him, the death penalty or life imprisonment.
Bless his heart.
Yeah. So he thinks, I'll represent myself. So he represents himself. He questions all the witnesses. Everybody for the defense. Yeah. He questions everyone. And good old boy Ted wasn't the attorney that he thought he was. Even though the judge said, boy, if you'd have taken a different turn, I would love to have had you in my court, to watch you do your thing. But, him being cocky, getting rid of his defense, he pretty much wrote his own death sentence right there. Because how arrogant he was, the way he approached everyone that went on the stand, asking them to like the
repeatedly describe the murder
scene. Tell me exactly
over and over and over. Even the judge was like, "We've heard this."
Yeah.
And then he would try to revise the question, but it's still the same thing, and you're like, okay, that right there is psychotic.
Yeah, he's getting them to tell him exactly how they found the body, so he can relive that in his head over and over again. The more I don't know, the dude was messed up in the head. There's no other way to put it. He was messed up in the head. I don't understand.
I don't know. It's disgusting, and it's the fact that people have those thoughts. I don't know. I mean,
well, what's worse, the fact that he had those thoughts and did those things, or the fact that he literally stood there every second of that trial and every moment he was coming in and out of courtrooms, he got off on the fact that he was Ted Bundy.
You're exactly right. You're exactly right.
I mean, that fed his ego more than anything else. And and the more you watch and listen to his words and read things about him, egomaniac isn't even a word that can describe how out of whack he was with his ego. I mean, it literally was. It's like all these things to fill whatever this need was. I don't think that's what the need was. The need was to be that monster that people were afraid of, to be that infamous person that people 30 years after your death are still talking about. You know,
it's the fame seeker.
It's the fame.
Yeah, because I mean, in interviews with him, you know, he did a few interviews while he was locked up. He's like, I'm the most famous guy in America. You know, he goes, I'm getting, you know, because he thought he was going to get out and he was going to be an attorney and he was going to do this. He's like, I'm the most famous guy in America. You know, I want to get out and be able to write my own ticket.
That right there too is thinking, you know, something is not right when you think that you can murder all these people and expect, you know, to get out and not have to, you know, pay anything, you know, pay any dues. Just, it blows my mind that he was just that arrogant. That,
but then you had all these people that all these women that write to him up to when he died, you know, and all these people that fawned over him because he was Ted Bundy.
Well,
you know?
It's that fame.
And
didn't he ended up marrying?
He ended up marrying a lady that he had known when he was, I think it was during the whole political thing.
Yeah.
And
she believed that he was an angel.
Yeah, Caroline Booth.
Yeah.
Caroline Boone. He actually took a little known obscure law in the state of Florida, and during his defense trial stood up and actually
asked her to marry
him and basically stated the vows right there, and because they did it in presence of a judge, that constituted a legal marriage in the state of Florida.
Yeah.
So he used part of his defense trial to marry Caroline Boone.
And he didn't have to pay for it.
Didn't have to pay a dime.
and where he was locked up at, they didn't allow conjugal visits, but he was able to persuade and get some free time.
And he's got a kid.
And he has a daughter now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I did. Now, that's one thing I didn't actually look into. Has she gone into...
because of all this stuff, they've actually found her, and we've actually posted the story on on our webpage, or on the Facebook page.
Yeah.
But they found her and actually interviewed her, and she's a very intelligent, very normal person.
Well, I mean, because we know that with Manson, he had 7 kids or something, and like one of his actual known children changed his last name and wanted absolutely no connection whatsoever. And it just to know if, you know, that accepting that father was a serial killer and willing to live that with that notoriety.
Yeah, but Rose Bundy.
Okay.
Rose Bundy. She's 37 years old. She lives in a little village in Europe. She lives in a modest house. She's married, has a young family, and
she's my age.
Yeah.
Yeah. 1981.
Crazy.
Yeah. She and apparently they tracked her down in this village. Reporter asked her if she was Bundy's daughter, as all the evidence suggested. Her response was, "You mean that guy from the documentary?" She laughed kind of nervously. She goes, "I'm sorry, but I'm not the person you're looking for." And she denied it, but she did say that she was she was connected to Carol, her mother, who did divorce Bundy eventually in 1996 and moved back to Washington. But they said that by all accounts, even though she doesn't claim to be who she is, and there's all the records showing that she is who she is, that everyone who knows her in this little village says she's a very kind, very intelligent person. She's
Well, good for her.
But she left the.
She
left the
left
country.
The country, which, you got to do what you got to do. You don't I don't think I could have live in the same area as I've grown up in if my father did what what Bundy did. Yeah. So I'd want to get as far away as possible too.
Yeah.
And live as normal as possible.
Yeah. Yeah, because being here, she would not have that peace.
No, she would have been attacked and not just by the media, but by crazy people that are just all about serial killers.
Yeah.
And here's the crazy thing. See, and this is one of those points where you go, ugh, because apparently when he did finally, in the days and hours leading up to his execution, when he finally sat down with who was it, Bill Hagmaier, the FBI agent the profiler that he ended up confessing all the 30 murders they did. Apparently, the reason he did so, and this is according to Hagmaier, the FBI agent, said that Bundy said he confessed finally to those 30 murders because he had a soft spot for his daughter. And quote, this is supposedly the quote from Bundy, he wanted to make sure that he was worried that somewhere in her life she would meet a Ted Bundy. And he wanted to make sure that she didn't fall for somebody like that.
Wow.
So after all that, right before he dies, this guy makes a exclamation like that, and you go, well, then he was completely in charge of all of his senses, and he knew exactly what he was doing.
He knew what he was doing.
Yeah, he totally did.
There is nothing.
That puts a whole new twist on it.
It really does.
That puts a whole new twist on it.
Apparently, one of the last things that he told Hagmaier was that, quote, you and others need to identify these people.
Wow. Dude.
Not people like me.
Right.
You and others need to identify these people.
Yeah.
After he sat there and confessed to 30 murders.
Wow. Wow.
Dude was crazy.
Yeah. And that's the thing. Was he that crazy?
No, that's just it.
Crazy as all he knew exactly what he was doing every single step of the way.
Yeah. There is nothing that would have, especially after making a comment like that. Nobody could say that there was any kind of mental.
No, there was no mental defect.
No.
He was one evil son of a
He
bitch.
really,
Totally
pure
was.
evil.
Totally was.
Like, straight up monster.
The only need he had to fill was to kill more people.
And at what expense? At how many? What if
okay,
he would have kept going?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, see, we don't know how many he truly had, because we have listed, we have 30 names. Mm-hmm. We have him connected to up to 16 more that they've associated him with. Mm-hmm. So that's 46 right there. Plus, whatever he did before he started letting people know he was doing this.
Yeah. Well, that's just going from 74 on.
Right, like 1969 when he...
from 69 to 74. What was going on then?
There's 5 years right there. We've already seen what he can do in 1 year. We've seen what he can do in 1 day.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Those perfect, circumstances, he could get as many, knock him out like he did at the Chi Omega.
I think he is absolutely a perfect example of what is a monster.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I mean, we go searching off for things like ghosts and things like that, but if you really want to talk about things to be frightened of,
it's right here in your own backyard.
Yeah. If you want to look for monsters, they're right there. People like Ted Bundy.
And
is what a monster is.
Yeah.
I am more afraid of those monsters.
Oh yeah.
Give me a ghost. Give me, dark rooms by myself.
Sure.
But, just that fear of not knowing. But like I said, I would like to think that that I would be that type of person that if that situation was ever presented to me, I'd be like, oh no, I've seen this movie. Or I've read this book.
Well, I hope for all our sakes that you would be that person that would recognize that and wouldn't.
I'm going to start packing.
Son of a bitch.
I don't know why she shot me. I just need some help with this bag.
I asked her to pick up my milk.
Stranger danger.
I'm going to get a text. Dude, Andrea shot a guy.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
This is a 79-year-old minister. He lives down the street. He had a flat tire and tried to wave her down if she could call someone. She shot him.
He offered her a
No,
Werther's
suck out.
original.
Boom. You ain't get me this time.
Not today, Satan.
That's my purse.
All right, so to close this out, that all fateful day would have been January 24th, 1989 at 7:16 a.m. Ted took his last breath inside the electric chair. The bastard fried, and then he was cremated, and all of his ashes spread over top one of his favorite mountains.
One of his hot spots.
Yeah, the Cascade Range in Washington State. That's where his ashes were spread.
Now, one thing that I did find interesting...
But it makes you wonder, did his ashes get spread over top of some of the bones from the people?
Well, that was a discussion back when it happened. Yeah. And they think very well it might have been. Yeah. And that may have been why he asked to be spread there.
Right. Which is twisted, even
super
more so.
Super twisted.
Well, I think it's even worse the fact that somebody in the state paid for them
to do
that.
Yeah.
I would have been like, oh, you want to be cremated? Okay, here, put you in a little box in a hole. Yeah. You want to be spread across the Cascade Mountains? Sorry. Ain't nobody got time for that. In a hole.
I'm sure there's an empty commode somewhere.
Absolutely.
Just dump it here, flush, there you go. Bye-bye, burial at sea.
Mm-hmm.
One thing I did notice, and they actually brought up in that documentary, was when he was being electrocuted, or he was on death row getting ready to go, and all these revelers, and like a good portion of them were kids that were not, like, weren't even alive when this stuff was happening, and they were just there to get drunk.
Yeah. Oh, they had a party.
It was a big party.
They were celebrating. Woo!
Huge party.
Die. And you're just like, dude, you don't even know. You don't have any clue.
Yeah.
I remember watching it on TV. I remember watching it on the news, and they were all out chanting "Burn, Ted, burn."
Yeah.
And they were selling T-shirts.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. Could you imagine if you had one of those T-shirts today? What that son bitch would be worth?
I am curious if anybody that listens to our podcast, if you own one of those shirts, I just want to see a picture of it.
Yeah.
I really do.
Yeah, just send it to our Facebook.
I just want to see that somebody has actually held on to something like that. You know, just for that whole, I don't even think of it as a sentimental thing, but just for nostalgia's sake, maybe?
For history's sake.
Yeah, history. But I just want to know if anybody actually still owns that shirt.
Yeah. Yeah, so, if any of you
listeners...
I
hoard T-shirts.
Yeah.
I have some pretty old T-shirts. I think I have one from 7th grade still.
Okay, but 89?
Oh, it's so comfortable.
But 89?
I was 9.
Yeah, so you wasn't in 7th grade.
No, but I have a shirt from my 7th grade year. So I know I hoard shirts.
Is it that pink one?
It is.
Oh, yeah, huh?
It's so soft. See, even he knows which one it is. That is so funny. I love it.
I got jeans from when I was 16 still.
Oh my gosh, are you serious?
Mine would look like baby
clothes. Are they
clothes.
stonewashed?
No, they're actually cowboy cut Wranglers.
Whoa.
Nice.
I bet they look the same now as they did when you were 16.
They do.
Those suckers don't age at all. I don't care how much you wash them.
No.
But yes, going back to it, I just want to know if anybody still actually owns one of those shirts, just because.
Yeah, just take a picture of it.
Yeah,
Post it to our
we don't
Facebook
want
page.
the. I mean, if you want to send us the shirt, that's fine. But
I'll totally take it.
But if you just want to send us a picture of your shirt, that would be awesome.
Yeah. You can post it on the Paratalk with East Tennessee Ghost Seekers Facebook page, or on the East Tennessee Ghost Seekers Facebook page, or both. Share that.
All of the above. And then some.
I just want to see if anyone has actually held on to that shirt.
I know, right?
That would be awesome.
I mean,
that
that's
would be so awesome.
the Oh, and did you notice that?
Not awesome that you have that shirt.
No, but
just that you held on to it.
And they were they were selling pins, electric chair pins.
Yeah.
For like $5 a piece, and I'm thinking that'd be like $20 now or something.
You probably got a pop brownie with it too.
Probably. They were passing those around with some Miller Lite.
Yeah.
Or Coors Light.
Yeah. Well, there was
Coors.
like 20 off-duty officers that was there. You know, everybody.
Okay. If anybody has any memorabilia from that, show it to us. Just out of curiosity.
Yeah.
Not that it's awesome, but just out of curiosity.
Just out of curiosity. I want to see if anyone does
Yeah.
that.
I mean, your aunts, uncles, grandpas.
Yeah,
grandmas.
because that's a part of history.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
You know? I know if my mom would have went, she'd have had to, get a shot glass engraved with it.
Of course.
Bundy died here.
I can see that.
Yeah.
Bundy died here.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
That fucker fried.
Oh my gosh.
So here you go. Ted Bundy's last words. Now, keep in mind, this was the person they said they had no empathy for anyone, couldn't feel empathy for anybody. He was asked by Superintendent Tom Barton of the jail, the Stark State Prison in Florida. Tom Barton asked Bundy if he had any last words, to which Ted Bundy replied, "Jim and Fred, I'd like you to give my love to my family and friends." And he was talking to his lawyer, Jim Coleman, and Fred Lawrence, a Methodist minister who had spent the evening in prayer with Bundy. Mm-hmm. And that was his last words.
Wow.
I was actually going to find, because I have this thing about food. And
his last meal?
Yeah. So, let's see.
Didn't he get the
He
normal?
actually declined a special meal, so he was given the traditional last meal of steak cooked medium rare, eggs over easy, hash browns, toast with butter and jelly, milk and juice.
And then you got those homeless people out there.
Oh,
would chew off somebody's leg for that meal.
Wow.
for a piece of toast. But the fact that they even give them a special meal or an option for a special
they
meal,
totally do. Yeah.
which I've seen some. Actually, this list is just unbelievable.
Like lately, there's been a lot of executions lately, and like they always announce what what their last meal was.
That always interests me. I want to know, because I'm a foodie anyway, so finding out their last meals are just quite interesting. Because I'm like, how dare you eat that food?
Yeah.
Your victims did not get that kind of meal before they died.
Yeah.
So.
Well, they didn't get a chance at last words. They didn't get a chance to say goodbye to their loved ones. They didn't get a chance to pass on anything to anybody. They just were killed. And I think at the same time they should, your last meal here. You get some water out of the tap.
Yeah.
It's not cold. You get some water and
Some cold blue steel.
Yeah, there's a little piece of bread. It doesn't matter. You don't need to eat.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter if you're hungry here in a little bit, because it won't matter.
Yeah.
You won't be hungry later.
You won't feel those hunger pains at all.
You won't be missing that food at all. So that's disturbing.
So the mind of a monster.
We'll never figure it out.
We've sat and we've talked about this, for hours and hours and hours before.
You can read article and story
and there's no way that you can understand why they do what they do,
because they don't even know.
No, I think, like Mike said, I think Bundy knew, and But
they just don't want to
But Bundy's not going to share
reveal
that.
it.
He's not going to share that information. So, yeah. Good riddance.
That's insane.
Anyway, I hope everyone enjoyed story time with ETGS.
Well, here, if you want something to make you even more angry,
Oh.
this is just think of this last time.
Snap.
This is how much it costs the state of Florida to take care of Bundy and then to finally kill him in the electric chair.
Oh my gosh.
They actually refer to Bundy in Florida as the $6 million killer.
Oh my
What?
gosh.
To keep Bundy in prison until he died by electric chair cost nearly $6 million. They said it probably would have been at least half of that if he would have just stayed in prison until he died of natural causes.
What? Oh, because of all of like appeals and court appearances and because that's the problem is that okay, just my
salaries,
my little rant here
expenses.
is that if they know for like beyond a shadow of a doubt, there's confessions, there's visuals, there's evidence out the wazoo, just do it. Just do
8
it.
years of appeals. He went
Yes,
through.
Yeah.
because
8 years.
and that's why the death penalty does cost so much. I mean, I don't think that the death penalty needs to be used all willy nilly.
Yeah.
I totally understand there are circumstances that need to be looked at even deeper. But if it is beyond the shadow of a doubt,
If they admit
if
to
they
it.
they actually admit, they confess, there is nothing that can, prove them otherwise.
Yeah. Because they said otherwise, it was $33.70 a day to keep a prisoner in Florida State Prison at that time.
Because all they're paying for is food and a little bit of lights.
Yeah.
Meals, electricity, and everything else.
And his
Laundry,
cable TV.
maintenance, guard. $33.70 a day. But because of his 8 years of appeals and everything else they went through there, $6 million.
That makes me sick.
Wow.
And what's the homeless population in Florida?
Well, let's see, they paid $6 million to keep him alive. And how long will it take us to earn $6 million?
More than my lifetime.
Yeah.
One appeal that he had,
Let's see, it's 2019.
there was one appeal he had that was $500,000 alone from one law firm.
Lord.
You know what's sad? How many times did he represent himself?
Yeah.
Several times.
Yeah.
Who paid for that?
Yeah.
He wasn't getting paid.
Huh.
What were they paying for?
Oh, well, see, I'm sure he still had, like, people he could talk to or whatever.
Well, I'm sure like
to pay.
some
Well, the,
type of
the
counsel.
prosecuting attorney
Counsel.
still had to be paid.
Yeah.
The judge still had to be paid. The bailiff still had to be paid.
Wow. Yeah, that'll piss you off.
So the longer he sat there and kept the trial going, more and more, it's every
and
day,
getting his name out.
every day,
More
every
and
day,
more.
every day.
Jeez. Makes you
$6 million.
makes you wish that, it was just the old West days.
And that was just from his stay in
For
Florida.
shooting.
That's not counting the time he
Right.
stayed for 3 years
Right.
in Colorado.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, that is ridiculous.
So much revenue wasted on that man.
So not only was he a monster, he was a prick too.
Yeah. He's an expensive monster. Jeez.
Oh, firing squad.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm gonna start packing.
Bullets is cheaper than that.
Yeah.
I'd take him out 50 cents.
One round, right?
One round.
One round. Right.
Okay, maybe two because I'm got a practice shot.
Everybody watch out. Here comes Andrea. She's going to take out Bundy.
Oh yeah.
Well, all right, we're closing in on an hour and a half.
Oh, we knew
on
this one was gonna be big.
Yeah, yeah. But everyone get ready to come back, though, because we'll be back, and we'll be doing another podcast. And this one's a cool one. This one's one we haven't done in a long, long time that I'm totally looking forward to. And it's all paranormal news.
We love paranormal news.
Love paranormal news. So, you guys come back and check out the next podcast. And For Paratalk, I'm Steven.
I'm Andrea.
I'm Mike.
And you guys don't forget about the little puppies. No, I'm playing.
I was like, what the crap is he going? I do not know what he's doing here. That was not in the script.
That was a curveball, wasn't it?
That was.
All right, guys. Until next time, you've been listening to Paratalk.
You've been listening to Paratalk with the East Tennessee Ghost Seekers. If you have a question or comment about the show you've just heard, or you have an experience to share, or you need to contact us concerning an investigation, feel free to email us at etgsparatalk@gmail.com or call 865-264-0448. That's 865-264-0448. We invite you to find and like the East Tennessee Ghost Seekers on Facebook, subscribe to our YouTube channel, and visit us online at easttnghostseekers.org. Thank you for listening, and we'll see you next time on Paratalk.